What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got two phenomenal revenge stories for you. The first one is going to blow you away with how good it really is. It's one of those classic revenge stories where somebody does something that they really shouldn't, and it ends up just destroying their entire lives. In this one, their business gets completely destroyed and they have no option but to leave town. It's that insane. So without further ado, sit back, relax, make sure you drop a like on this episode, subscribe or hit the follow button on whatever platform you are on. Let's get straight into this. Got fired, reported them to OSHA, destroyed a family business, and made them leave town. So, a while back, I'd been hired to be the marketing person for a family business. It was a fitness equipment liquidator that had been founded by a gold medalist Olympian. He'd fallen into some mental health issues and had delegated his wife to take over the business. She didn't have the experience, but took the reins anyways, and she and her children ran the place, albeit with some success. So this is where I come in. The first red flag I should have seen was that she was trying to screw over the recruiter by wanting us to do a side deal to pay me technically less, but still more than I would have gotten without the recruiter as the middle person. But I was in bed and I didn't think too much about it. The next thing was how embedded the family aspect was in this business. There was basically no distinction between the employees and family affairs being wrapped up in their work environment too. But I was just happy to finally be in a space where I felt welcome and almost love-bombed by the CEO, who treated me like one of her own children. Always lots of hugs and even kisses during good morning meetings, as if we were coming downstairs for breakfast. Meetings ended up turning into brainstorming sessions because the CEO's children and the workers were so scatterbrained and didn't want to commit to any specific plans of action, and I was basically on my own when it came to any marketing of anything because nobody would actually participate if it came down to it. About a month or so into it, I get ambushed by the CEO and her daughter, who was like the operations person technically or something. Both were wondering why we hadn't achieved as much as I had wanted to. And when I explained that I didn't really receive much help or participation from anyone, suddenly it became all about blaming me for everything wrong and why sales were down and why nothing was exponentially growing as she had hoped they would. I explained what actions I'd taken and that I was doing exactly what I said I was going to do. It wasn't my fault that nobody wanted to help when they said they would. It didn't matter. They wanted me gone because they expected the moon in 3 weeks' time with zero budget and zero help from anyone else. So I just left. I want to add that I did a lot while there. I automated a lot of their processes that they were doing by hand. I set up Salesforce and Slack, as well as setting up and handling Zendesk and a ticketing system, and even automating a lot of POS processes, from card tap to accounting. It was all smooth and seamless, and I made tons of things very efficient for them, and I improved productivity while there. But none of that mattered, of course. They wanted double the sales from basically social media posting and nothing else. While I was there, I had documented tons of OSHA violations, exposed wires where customers would walk, ADA violations, customer safety violations, forklifts operated with zero certification and no PPE, and having employees standing on top of the forks just to reach the warehouse ceiling, with no safety anything. Structural violations, you name it, they did landlord special type fixes and left things in often worse states than before. So I made the call and I sent OSHA photos of what I documented, which I had only documented in the event of needing to use. I never actually expected it to come to this, but it did. After talking with them, it was explained to me that there was months-long processes to get actions to be taken, even with evidence. The penalties for the violations I had evidence for were financially crippling fines I knew they wouldn't be able to handle. And after months of checking every now and then, I got confirmation that action was taken. Then, a couple of months later, I drove past the warehouse and showroom and I saw that it was abandoned. Broken letters, overgrown grass in the parking lot, boarded up windows and doors, for lease, all gone, and dilapidated. While I was placing those calls, I was also reaching out to my realtor friend, who is super good at what she does, saying that we should time it right so that after these fines and penalties, she can drop literature off at their door until they're convinced to sell. She didn't do it in time, but she did catch wind that the house had been sold, and sold fast. Their website was 404'd, and they basically packed their bags and left. I still can't believe it worked. But sometimes in life, we have to accept that we are the karma that someone has coming to them. Goodbye, Amy, wherever you and your family left to. We're even. Oh my goodness me. I feel like that just went up a notch, the last two sentences there. First of all, I completely agree. We have to accept that we are the karma sometimes that someone has coming to them. Unbelievable, aka take matters into your own hands. And secondly, OP just name dropped Amy at the end there. I mean, we didn't have any mention of any name before that at all. I thought it was going to be a completely nameless for identity reasons and secrecy post. But no, Amy, if you're listening, turns out you're now even with OP. Okay, there we go. And as I said, yeah, the final sentences there are just so good. I do agree with OP though, to be fair, especially about the fact that you have to accept that we are the karma sometimes that someone has coming to them. Because if OP did nothing and just, sat back, took the L, got fired, whatever, moved on with his life, nothing would have happened here, most likely. Yeah, down the line, something may well have done, but immediately nothing would have done. And these terrible working conditions that just seem so unsafe. Could have just kept going forever and ever. And who knows what complications or devastation that could have caused down the line. I'm thinking about someone being on top of a forklift trying to get to a top shelf or something. That is just, serious accident at best, death at worst sort of potential. If anything, maybe actually that disproves OP's point. The real karma could have been him getting fired, doing nothing, then someone falling off a forklift, ideally the CEO, and dying. If you want karma, death is probably a pretty clear example of it. So guys, comment down below, what do you think? Do you think OP did the right thing here? Or should he have just, quietly gone about his business, got fired, and let someone die by falling off a forklift? It's much of a muchness. I'm not sure where I stand. Now moving on to our second revenge story. Oh, I played the long game. I am by no means an expert or pro at revenge, but I am a patient person. I disclosed this to a friend and they directed me here. 7 years ago, I was lucky enough to be able to buy my own place. I'd saved for 10 years, worked my butt off, and I was so happy to be able to have a place to call my own. Now, being a single person on the mortgage meant I had to make compromises. One such compromise was buying a property on a shared block, a lot cheaper. Where I'm from, this usually means it's on a strata title. For some, that's a bonus, as it means there's a communal fund for repairs. Typically, insurance is cheaper as it's collective, and other things like maintenance being taken care of. Strata titles also come with a lot of bylaws and restrictions on what you can and can't do. I'm a pretty private and introverted person, so having to deal with people and have limits on how I live was a no-no. I took my time and I found the perfect property. Shared block, but freehold title. Only thing was, I needed to pay public liability insurance for the shared walkway on the property, split equally between owners. The real estate agent is local to my area. There's also about 3 degrees of separation between us. He has friends who are friends with my friends type of thing. I didn't know him, but I knew of him, so that sort of felt good too. About 5 months after I move in, I get a knock on the door from the owner, the landlord, of the property next to me, to discuss insurance. Not a problem, I ask for a copy of the policy so I have a record. It gets sent through and lo and behold, it's for strata insurance. I was incredibly confused, and after much back and forth, the property isn't a freehold title, but actually a strata title. I called my lawyer who conveyed the title, etc. He was dumbfounded, but then did the right thing and made things as right as they could. I arranged for a meeting with the real estate agent. I brought emails and printouts of the ads they had, all saying it was freehold, emails between the real estate agent and my lawyer discussing its freehold status. But despite it being in absolute black and white, he refused to accept any fault or offer anything to make things right. I don't begrudge that. He's looking out for himself. I get that. However, I wouldn't forget it. Sorry, I've got to disagree with OP there, and I know we're about to get into the revenge, but are you joking? You've been missold here. It's completely on the realtor to do something about it, even if it affects him negatively. I mean, I hope it does affect him negatively. He's got it so badly wrong and sold you something that isn't actually what you've bought. Anyway, OP continues. I did enter into mediation with the real estate agent, and all I asked for was, when the time came for me to sell, they'd do it or cover the costs. I thought this was reasonable, but they flat out refused and offered me $1,000 to go away, which I refused. I had the option to pursue them legally, and I was advised by the mediator to do so, but ultimately I decided against it for a few reasons, the main one being my health at the time. So I planned and plotted, and I schemed and connived as to how to get back at this son of a female dog. And I settled on this. I found his personal Facebook page, which wasn't set to private. I saw some photos of a boys on tour trip that he went on a few weeks prior, so about 5 to 6 months after I bought the property. I also found his address through a business registration search. On the anniversary of the sale, for 6 years straight, I sent them flowers with a note. Dear real estate agent, remembering you on this, our special day. She has your eyes, love, L. They varied ever so slightly over the years, but always had on this, our special day, and some weird inference to a love child and a desire to reconnect. Oh, I've just realized as well, guys, this is brilliant. OP's throwaway account username is OnThisOurDay. So good. OP says, I also from time to time arrange for postcards and letters to be sent from another country. The one he was on tour in always signed Love L. I learned about 3 weeks ago that this guy had recently divorced, lost his home, and is no longer working as a real estate agent. His wife had found out that he cheated on her. The story I was told, through said friends of friends, went along the lines of, he would get weird gifts and flowers every year, the same day, every year. She, his wife, finally put 2 and 2 together and realised what the date was, and he admitted to cheating on her. Now, I didn't mean for this, but it turns out a year before I bought my house, he'd gone on holiday, came back with an STD, gave it to his wife, but somehow convinced her that it wasn't him. As such, our special day turned out to be right around the time that he'd have been deep, without a condom, in someone who wasn't his wife, only 1 year earlier. He's apparently lost his house, half his retirement savings, and also his business. I do feel a little bit guilty about all of it sometimes, but then I'm reminded that he's a scumbag, and that karma, like me, is a patient, spiteful, and vengeful female dog. Oh my goodness me. I mean, this is just great revenge. Really, really, really good. Now, the thing that does stand out to me a little bit is that I'm not sure this should have ever got through the lawyer, you know, your title attorney, because they are clearly just have not done their job well enough. If something that to be honest, sounds quite basic has been able to go through their processes and they've not caught it. It's a big difference. I mean, I don't know much here, but just from what you've explained, OP, it's pretty different from owning a place yourself to having a strata title. I imagine it's probably one of the immediate things that you would check, who owns the property. Let's make that 100% sure that we know that before you'd even get into the finer details of whatever happens next when purchasing a property. But yeah, nonetheless, great revenge. Imagine being that guy. And the thing is, we don't actually even know if this guy ever realized that the person who he actually did cheat with back in the day wasn't the one sending these messages. And yes, obviously it's a big coincidence, but nonetheless, this is what has sparked it in the first place. And also, I'd have to say that the fact that he was caught is deserved anyway for cheating in the first place. I don't know how he managed to get away with, giving his wife an STD. Pretty ridiculous, but I just feel good for his wife that she's out of that relationship. And I know you said at the end, OP, that you do feel a little bit guilty sometimes, but I wouldn't. Just, you're right. He is such a scumbag, and you know full well that if you were his wife, you would have wanted you to do that in this situation. She deserves to know the truth, and you didn't know it was the truth, but in a way, you got to the truth, so you did your job. And if you ever feel bad about what you did, just think about how much his wife's life has probably improved. The fact that he's not in it anymore. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want some more revenge stories right away, check out this episode on screen right here. Also linked in the description down below. If you're new to the channel, hit this button, subscribe, turn notifications on whatever platform you are on. And I will catch you very soon with some more phenomenal Reddit content.